Hello, Miami. This is 305 Sports Now, your home podcast for all things Miami-related sports. I am Will, and once again, I am hard at work. I don't stop. I just keep bowling along, okay? And this is another bonus episode for 305 Sports Now. And today is, well, not today because this is a pre-recorded show, but today, this Friday, we are going to be talking about National Signing Day because it is the week of National Signing Day. And who better to have on for National Signing Day than two of the best coaches in Miami-Dade County, Mr. Joseph Gross of Westland, Hialeah Senior High School of the Wildcats, and Mr. Tim Neal of American Senior High School, the Patriots. All right, gentlemen, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? How's everything going?
I'm doing well, Tim. Tim. Joe, what's up? Everything good?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Appreciate you having me on here.
Awesome. Joe, you're in New York right now. Is that correct?
I am, man. I'm up for the holidays. I'm visiting some family.
That's good. You're not a Knicks fan, are you?
I am.
A little bit. To be honest, I'm not a big basketball guy.
Okay. Tim, you're a Knicks fan?
Yeah, Knicks fan. Yeah, since I was a kid. I'm a little bit older than y'all. This is way before the Heat. So.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I don't ditch my teams.
Oh man, dude, my God, my buddy Dean, he's a former Golden Glove boxer. He's from New York as well. He's gonna love this interview because he's a huge Knicks fan.
He is a good man.
Actually. He's a very good man. He was a hell of a personal trainer over at LA Fitness, and he's doing good things over there in Massachusetts right now. So give him a shout out. He's one of my loyal listeners here for this show. Very supportive as well. I never took you as a Knicks fan.
He's a brave guy. If he's a New York fan of Massachusetts, man, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, he was busting my chops the other day because he said that in a 7-game series, the Knicks would kill my Heat. And I'm like, no, no, hey, not going to happen. What's up, Tim? We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see about that. All right. So pretty much, I just wanted to add some pleasantries to it. Ladies and gentlemen at home, if these names are not familiar to you, I want to tell you something. If you ever want your kids to play high school football, these two gentlemen that I have on the show today are not only head coaches and know how to win, they're also some of the best mentors I have ever met. It is unbelievable what both Tim and what Joe have done with kids, pretty much off the streets in tough areas and molded them pretty much into men, and also make sure that they get what is done to academically as well. But you guys didn't just wake up overnight and become coaches. All right. You guys were molded as well, and that's why you're such good coaches today. And you had some mentors that I also have a high deal of respect for. Let's start first with you, Joe. Joe, you were hired by Telly Lockett, but you also coached under Roland Smith at Central. Telly Lockett was a hell of a coach at Central, won a couple state titles, and now he's doing good things at Marshall's. Am I correct?
Yeah. Had a great career, great tenure at Miami Central, and has been doing real well at the college level now, Division I college level.
Yeah, that's great. What was it like? What practice is like at Central? I know that school gets pretty hardcore.
Just very, very scripted in the sense of, we knew what we were doing when we came out there in the field. We knew the schedule, the scenario. Every day was a prep day. You have the luxury of a school like that where, you're almost running two practices at once, offense on one side, defense on the other. And you really have, a full team on each side of the field. So you get a lot accomplished. Just very detailed for, really run really well. I don't have a ton of experience at college level practices, although I have been to a few, and they're pretty similar. It's really run like a college program, and that's why they have so much success.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the U just signing Wesley Bazanthi. I mean, we're gonna get into that in about a few minutes, but I was watching his highlight films, and my God, if the U had problems tackling this past season, not with that kid on their roster this year. So great victory there and keeping that kid after Manny recruited him and Mark Cristobal able to seal the deal. Coach Neal, Tim, you told me that your mentor was a gentleman by the name of Charlie Yonda. He was your head coach originally at American, and you coached under him at South Miami. What was that experience like?
It was pretty good. I think when you hear that name, a lot of people dated back to when I was in high school, so that goes to the mid '80s. But overall, what I learned, from him was do's and don'ts, a lot of discipline, how to set things in motion, stay on track. But a lot of what I'm doing today came mostly from like Joe Montoya on the staff that I was on with him and how we built things. And on that staff, I think we had like 6 head coaches that came from that one staff. So, and that's probably what Joe came from too, I'm sure, with Lockett and Patty and all those guys.
I mean, going back to Joe, Coach Neal and I, we kind of crossed paths a few times when I was a kid. He doesn't look it, but Coach Neal is a tad bit older than me. And when I was in high school, interviewing football players and so on, Coach Neal was in the press box, helping Joe Montoya call plays. Joe's an interesting guy because I feel, from my opinion, if you feel free to disagree with me, if you want, Tim. But Joe is a guy that I feel is a very underrated coach in South Florida. I mean, even to this day, and I've seen pro games, I've seen games on at the high school level as well. And he was a mad scientist on offense. Am I right or wrong?
Oh yeah, you're on point. You're on point. And all of this came from, like what Joe was saying, they came across a lot of guys that were already like developed and they made it work. But with us, what I learned from Joe, and I'm happy, because what we dealt with was a lot of times we had to develop the player. And to me, that's fun, because a kid can come to you, not as good as an athlete or good of a football player, and you can make him into one. So with that in mind, we did that, man. And a lot of what we did was just instill confidence and get them in the weight room, academically get them going, and just having them focus on, being a better person first. And foremost, and how you treat people, it comes back to you, and hard work and dedication.
Yeah, it transitioned well in the football field. Coach is being a bit modest, because when I was at Coral Park and Coach Neal was helping Montoya pretty much run strategy for that football team, they beat Killian when Killian was ranked #1 in the state. In that season. Not only did they beat Killian, they came very close in many occasions to beating Miami High. Now, some of you know, well, Miami High's at a football power. Back then, they had a guy by the name of Andre Johnson that pretty much dominated the NFL and dominated college football for many, many years as well. And so that team in general, which is a school that was not known for football, was more known for baseball, made some noise until they faced a tough team they couldn't beat, which was Southridge in the playoffs. And Southridge was back then was also very formidable as well, especially with a guy by the name of Darren Davis, who had like a couple, basically rushing for 200 yards was easy for him on a regular basis.
Yeah,
as well.
I was fortunate enough to have him on my staff down at Southridge. That was awesome. But Joe also upset Central, if I'm not mistaken, that same year. If it wasn't, it was the year after with T-Rob, when T-Rob was a senior.
Yeah. Okay. I don't remember, but you're probably right as well. I mean, upsets were occasional from that coaching staff as well. They did beat Central. I'm sorry to call him out, but my buddy Armando dropped the game-winning touchdown against Carroll City in the end zone that year. I hate to say his name. He's a great firefighter right now, great guy. Was a monster at tackling.
Awesome.
But I think he heard steps, on that last play, and that ball just bounced off his chest, and they almost had another upset against Carroll City. Go ahead, Tim.
I'm gonna step in. I'm gonna tell you, Armando probably was too excited before he got the ball. That's why he dropped.
Oh, okay.
that kid, he was tough as nails, man. A hustler too.
Oh, he definitely was. Him and Guido were savages. If Guido was 4 inches taller, he would have been a Division 1A superstar. He was a tackling machine.
Guido Maya was a beast and went on to the next level to do the same thing, at Benedictine. But outstanding athlete, great person too.
Absolutely. Great businessman too when it comes to fitness. He's really killing it with P360.
One of the best.
Oh, most definitely.
And he's a big FCA guy too. He's big FCA guy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Definitely Fellowship of Christian Athletes. If those of you who don't know what that means, it means Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Fellowship of Christian Athletes is an organization that pretty much puts together Christian athletes of the same faith. Guys that are involved in that are Regito, as we know, also, but also guys like Tim Tebow, of course, no surprise. Darren Smith, former Miami Hurricane All-American, and also former Dallas Cowboys superstar as well, for those of you out there who don't remember the name. One thing about both of you, and I want Joe to start this one because Joe, I think, had the bigger climb. You guys know what it's like to win at top at schools, at high schools, that football is God. In particular, football is king. I don't want to use the phrase God, but football is king. But you also coach at schools where it's not. And when Joe, when you first started at Westland, Tim had taken over. You took over the team for Tim. Before Tim had taken over the team, Westland only scored 2 touchdowns in one season and hadn't won a game in almost 2 years. At the moment, Coach Gross, you almost became the Independence League champion in a span of a season. What in the world did you do to turn this program around?
What Tim was saying before, I think it started, it's like you plant a seed, right? And so I think it started long before me, man. And it's just you have to keep moving forward, right? So those, you never see those first steps. The first steps are kind of they're hard to see because when you're coming from a place where there's not much success, it's hard to see the little growth and all those little movements forward. They would start long before me, man. I came in at a good time, and I think what I did well was just able to keep moving forward. A system that was already going in the right direction in so many ways. I think that I think the key to a lot of it is of course, the football aspect, the players understand what they need to do on the field, what they need to do off the field. A big part of it is confidence, believing themselves, believing that you can win when you've lost for so long. But it starts with little victories. It starts with those little victories that they say, like, for every one step forward, for a mistake, you move 2 steps back. So you have to eliminate those backward movements. You have to just keep kind of moving forward and building on small victories. And when you have enough small victories, all of a sudden, these what seem to be big victories start to occur, and the confidence kind of explodes, right? It's like, I remember our first game, man. We came out our first game this season, and it was 35-0 at halftime. And I remember looking at the kids' faces, and it was like utter shock that, I don't know if Westland's ever been up 35-0 at half before, but it was almost like a sigh of relief, I think, more in the kids' faces, that all of this hard work is paying off. It's not, the result that was kind of dreaded for so long. And I think that the first game was, really, even though it was the first game of the season, I think it was a huge point in our success. Just the understanding that, man, like it is paying off, man. It is working. Like, this, what the formula does make sense. So like I said, man, it was something that was started long before me, moving in the right direction. I was able to just pick up at a good time, and luckily I was able to keep us moving forward. And it paid off nice for us this year.
And what the wonderful thing about this team, I think one of the main reasons why you're so successful is because the freshman class that you brought in has made an impact right away. Especially, you have many of them starting on defense. Am I correct on saying that, or is there another intangible you want to add on?
I apologize. Say that one more time. I think I misunderstood the question.
Oh, no problem. No, it's I think one of the biggest impacts, Coach Neal can't hear me. One of the biggest impacts that I believe that made your school successful, made the school successful, is that the freshmen came in and made a huge impact. Am I correct in saying, especially on defense, am I correct in saying that, or is there another intangible that made you guys successful?
Yeah, definitely. So defensively, freshman and sophomore, man, we had some real young guys who, this year was we had 22 starters. So, normally a smaller program has a lot of kids going both ways, and by being able to work 22 starters, we were able to kind of what I mentioned earlier. We were able to set up our practices, almost like two completely separate practices with offense and defense, and kind of really got able to touch upon some fine points on each side of the ball. But yeah, we had some freshmen come in. Um, two of our D linemen, our two defensive ends, both true freshmen, had great years. We had a sophomore corner who he's gonna have about every big time offer there is in the book by the time he's a senior. That's without a doubt. He's already being spoken to. We had a freshman receiver who had a real good year for us. A freshman linebacker, outside linebacker, who was huge for us in key situations. So, when you get some young guys on the field who are really producing, it makes a tremendous difference, because it's something you don't normally rely on, and to see it kind of come to fruition is huge.
From what I've observed, especially, the future is bright for Westland, because literally the only team you lost to was Barbara Goldman, and in the regular season and in the championship game. So I think that the future is very bright for Westland, and I think that you're going to take Westland to the next level, especially next year. When the freshmen mature and then the junior class becomes seniors, they'll get bigger and stronger faster. Go ahead.
And with both those games too, the first game that we played them, we were actually winning to start the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second game, it was a 6-0 game at half. We were down. I think our inexperience came in huge and a lot, and that's not taking anything away from Barbara Goldman. They're a really good football team. They're really well coached, man. Their coaching staff does a tremendous job over there, and their kids do a tremendous job. So it just shows, I think, what kind of position we were in against a really good program, two different times. And unfortunately, we came up short both times. But I think it does kind of, play off well moving forward with us kind of looking at ourselves in the bigger picture.
All right, excellent. We're having some technical difficulties with Coach Neal. Tim, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. Thank goodness. Yeah, you gave me the sign that you couldn't hear me earlier, so I hope we didn't lose you.
No, we're here. I don't know what happened, but we're good.
All right, Coach. Before we get into your history, I just wanted to ask you, how does it feel to be back at an American, your home school?
This is the best feeling I've had. Period. I would say the closest to how I feel right now would be like how it was at Southwest. It was just great in my first 2 years at Gables, but I love being back there. Felt kind of strange going back when I first got there because, you're walking around the hallways, and I'm remembering, I started as a freshman during an era where that didn't happen. So my 4 years at American was exciting from beginning to end. My first football game was against Northwestern. I went from Cooper City Optimist to playing Northwestern in just over a summer. So, and that Northwestern team was with Streeter, Mark Richardson, Melvin Bratton, Mark Irvin, and all those guys. But being back in a place that pretty much where everything started to end, what I've been doing in Dade County has been, God sent, God blessing. I guess that's why the things that transpired over the past 3 years happened. Wasn't like I wanted it to happen that way. It was frustrating, but I love the situation I'm in. I love working for Marcus Gabriel and Mr. Papp over there at American. It's a great environment. I'm looking to build like I did over at Southwestern, like Joe and I and Carlos Maldonado did over at Gables.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm really happy that you're in a situation that you feel comfortable with. Like I said, the kids are lucky to have you because both of you are a good mentor, to those kids. But as I was talking to Joe, Coach Gross, we were discussing, what it is to turn a program around like Westland. You had a similar experience at Southwest when you were there. Southwest was interesting because the previous coach actually put Southwest in the playoffs. I think you took it to a different level, and you took it different level, not just athletically but also academically. But the previous coach had the luxury of having LaMarcus Joyner, both on defense and on offense. And then when that coach went off to greener pastures, some members of the coaching staff that were there and were still teaching at Southwest, made no bones about it. They didn't care whether or not the kids transferred, and when you left Westland, I'm going to bring this up. When you left Westland, you made sure or attempted to make sure that those kids that you brought in, to help build the program stayed and help Coach Gross, build what he's built already, this year at Westland High School. So when you started at Southwest, you got left with bare bones, in particular. A lot of kids decided to leave, including, a 5-star recruit that went from Columbus and then to St. Thomas and then to Florida State right after. What was that experience like, having to rebuild a program that does not have a rich football history?
It wasn't as difficult. I was much younger, very ripe and ready for it because of situations of just me being who I've been and who I've coached with, what I've seen. I started out at Hialeah High School with Joe back in 93, 94. Hialeah wasn't strong, but like you said, rich in football, yes, and even American had its years coming up. But at Southwest, it was real difficult. It was difficult to do, but I was up for the challenge. For myself, I didn't look at it at the time like it was because, like Joe said earlier, you just got to keep things moving. You can't sit and ponder on the fact that coaches are telling kids to leave. Coaches are telling kids not to show up to your meeting. You're getting all kinds of things said behind your back that's not actually true. I just stuck the course and just went through and did what I had to do, focus, and I built it literally from bones. I mean, it really was. And what it was all about was, just changing the culture of attitude. Because at Southwest, I think what was going on at the time, it was football against the school and the world. And I think when I came in, it was more or less like, people are put on this earth to help each other. Mm-hmm. And students need their teachers. We also need administrators, and we need the kids. So it's got to go, hand in hand, and it's got to work throughout. If respect is given, it'll be received. So that was the whole point. And also it was, like I said, I do enjoy developing kids into football players and better people. But man, this was kids putting in hip pads where the knee pads go, thigh pads where in the wrong spot, and shoulder pads on backwards. It was all kinds of stuff. But nonetheless, I didn't point the finger at anybody else. I accepted the job. I was even asked by the athletic director at the time if I wanted to back out of it. I could, and I was like, nah. I take what's given and I keep it moving. So it was. I enjoyed every minute of it. You mentioned earlier, Joe, that you can't see the steps. In a year, brother, I promise you, you're gonna look back and say, man, I moved this along real fast. And it was done. You did a great job. Okay. That was the same way. Yeah, Coach, I'm telling you, after 3 years, I made a couple of changes, adjusted some things, brought in, coaches. I mean, Mick Arteaga is a step away from winning the state wrestling championship, and he was a hell of a defensive back coach. I brought back guys that it meant something to them to be at Southwest coaching. And that's the same thing I'm doing at American. I'm finding American guys, guys that everywhere I've gone, I've always tried to get players or coaches that played at that school, like the Davis brothers, Darren and his brother came over to help out, and a couple of other guys for that matter. But it's all about, because the whole thing with pride back in the day meant something, So understanding what those schools mean and respecting where they've come from, it's important, because a lot of people don't think that. If I were to mention right now how many Southwest grads ended up at back in the day, a lot of people wouldn't know them because it wasn't as many in the 80s, but in the 70s, and Bluestein will tell you that they a couple of guys went to the U, a couple of guys went, elsewhere. I mean, some of them ended up in the NFL. The bottom line is, like, it's just pulling the best out of what you have and making it happen without excuses.
Right. That's amazing. And Tim, great words for Coach Gross, who again, has taken a school that literally has no football history whatsoever as far as success goes, no upsets, and has taken it, to a level no one has ever seen. As a matter of fact, it's a nice segue to announce that Coach Joe Gross was actually named Coach of the Year, this past season, and I think it's very much deserved. Awesome. Because he deserves his accolades for being the heck of a football coach that he truly is. All right,
congrats,
man. Very well deserved. Very well deserved. And like I said, what you do for those kids at Westland, and listen, Coach Gross isn't just the head football coach. He's also the department chair of the ESC department, the Exceptional Student Education Department. That is a doozy, because he deals with a lot of bureaucracy, within his own job professionally. And not only that, the difficulties of mentoring kids, at high school level. Yes, he is. Yes. That's why they love Coach Gross at Westland, because he does the dirty work for ESC.
Joe actually, when I was there just before him, he wanted to help me out a lot as far as coaching, but he didn't have the time. And the things that he did in the office, in the front office for me, were getting things, by, and making sure the kids had what they needed. So he was actually making things happen with that program from there, from the beginning. I mean, even before I got there. So, hey, but congratulations on that, Coach. I did not know. That's good stuff.
Thank you. I just want to touch upon quick, man, what Coach just said. I think that's the most misunderstood piece of coaching, especially the high school level, to people who just are on the outside, is how many people in a school go into different aspects of running a team. Like, take away coaching completely, take away anyone on the coaching staff. How many other people on a school go into, a successful program, and, talking about, because it's not just playing a game. It's academics, it's attendance, it's tardies, it's behavior, it's, all these things that go into mentoring, because at the end of the day, right, we're mentoring young men. So
and you can't do it by yourself. So
that
counselor, that secretary, that AP, that AD, whomever, is everybody doing it. That whole village raising the child. It's the same concept.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that leads me on to my next segue, and that is college recruiting. All right. As today we're recording this episode today to be aired for Friday, is the early stages of National Signing Day. And both of you are very instrumental in making sure your kids go off to that next level and play, for a major university or university in general, to make sure they get an education or able to fulfill their dreams and making it into the NFL. So I want to ask both of you a question. I'll start first with Joe, and then Tim, you feel free to jump in. Joe, you coached at Central. Central is the kind of school that produces the kind of players that Nick Saban will want to land a helicopter at the backyard of the school. So I want to know what it's like, and from your experiences coaching at Central and seeing recruiters from schools like FSU, Florida, Alabama, Auburn, LSU, USC, etc., come into that building.
Yeah, man. I mean, the contrast between the two is crazy. At Miami Central, I mean, especially, the big recruiting time is spring, right? Spring ball, because colleges aren't playing; they're off, so they're 100% at it. So, spring practice. I mean, you show up to practice, and there's 20 coaches out there ready for practice to start. You know, where Westland, man, I'm like the ex-girlfriend you don't want, man. Like I'm harassing these coaches to, you know, look at my kids' film and give them a call and give them a shot, and you know, it kind of changes the aspect of it. But it's both are kind of cool in a different way, you know. It's definitely cool to, you know, walk up to practice. You got a bunch of D1 coaches there. You know, they're sitting there, they're talking to you, and you know, you're putting a good word for your kids. And it's kind of cool the other way too, man, where you have to reach out and put in the legwork, and it's kind of, you know, appreciated that much more, and get a coach on the phone, get a coach to look at some film and have a conversation. I can tell you this real quick. I'll tell you right now, man. I stick to this. I've stuck this since day one. I tell you, I think I've actually told you this before, but I tell you my favorite college coach ever is Mac Brown.
Yeah.
Mac Brown, man. When he was at
Return of the
Texas.
Mac.
When he was at Texas, man, I met him. Coolest guy I ever met in my life, man. I've been a Mac. I never been to Texas. He's not there obviously at UNC now, but never been to Texas. Never really liked Texas, although I was a big Ricky Williams fan. And in college, I played running back, so I just loved his style, loved the way he played. To me, he was just, you know, awesome. But from the day I met Mac Brown, man, wherever he goes, I support them. It just to me, it just seemed like one of the most genuine guys I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
I agree, and I'm gonna say this right now because I've said it in previous podcasts. I think he hates Manny Diaz. You know, so you know, they were up by 30, and he did a trick play at the Hard Rock the year before. So I think that says this is what I think of your defense. You know, so to poor Coach Diaz. You know, all right, Tim, you care to share your experiences between bigger and smaller schools?
Bigger and smaller schools. Well, I think my situation, what I've been through over at Gables, it was, you know, and you know, we had Frank and Jonathan Vilma, Frank Gore, and a lot of people don't know that Kerry Williams was with us too. Actually, Kerry Williams led the county in interceptions his junior year when he was at Gables. His dad was coaching with us, and Dad took off, and he ended up over at Chaminade. But being over at Gables and having that stable of just athletes, because for 6 years in a row, we sent a kid to UM. 6 years in a row, along with Killian, Central, Northwestern, Carroll City, we sent 4 or more kids to Division I schools. And having John and Frank perform the way that they did, Denzel Perryman, you know, that kind of thing, coaches begin. That's where you get your, you know, you end up with a relationship with guys. Coaches remember you, you know, because of the kids that you coach and you develop and help them to be, you know, better people and better ball players. But one and the same will happen, Joe, because you're doing such a great job. All you got to do is just stay the course, because at Southwest, Trey, you know, Trey had 28 offers, and they were all D1 schools because he was that kind of an athlete. He could have been a receiver. He could have been a defensive back. He could have been, you know, anything pretty much. Running back, it wouldn't have mattered. So at Southwest, building that from crumbs, kind of like with America now, because I started with 6 kids and no spring practice, you know, coming into the season with no quarterback, but still winning some games, and people expected me to lose. But and Joe, we was in a tight one. It helped me when you when you left. When you left, it helped out. my kid, your kids play a little bit harder, man, and we made some mistakes, but nonetheless, I can see American getting back to the way it was from when I was there, and the attraction of DB High School at one point. I know a lot of people, you know, remember that back in the day, but it's easier to get things done at a Gables, at a Central, even if Central hit hard times or Northwestern hit hard times, it's always just like South Ridge has hit hard times. It's still South Ridge. The history is so rich, and it flows so deep to where it doesn't take much to ignite that. It takes the right things, but you know, it doesn't take a whole bunch of crap to make anything work for it. You just need to go back and just go off the foundation that Solinger started in your own way, and you'll get it back on track because of the name, you know.
Right. I'm a, if you don't mind, I'm gonna piggyback off something you just said too, Coach. Like one of the things you said, man, you hit the nail on the head. Like there's certain schools, I'm not gonna say anybody by name, obviously, but there's certain schools that they, even when they don't have a good year, which a lot of, you know, some of them did not this year, that have a certain name, like all these coaches are still popping in the door, right? Like just because the name. And you know, I'm like, you could be sitting here like, I'm sitting here like, damn, man, like we had a good year too. Like pop in, you know, pop in, talk to some of my kids. But yeah, like some schools, you know, due to the name, like yeah, they're gonna pull off 95 and pop in, you know, just because.
Listen, Coach, you know how Telly will find me.
Yeah.
Coach, I know you got something. You might not have it now, but I know you're gonna have it for later.
Right.
Let me know who I need to come back for. You know, Randy comes by all the time because he knows eventually, just as long as I'm there and I'm working and I'm allowed to do what I do, we're gonna get some kids going, man. Definitely. You know, gotta hustle for them.
Absolutely.
This is beautiful. I love hearing you guys have a conversation, especially, you know, with today's topic and so on, about how you guys have similar experiences being high school coaches, being at big programs where you can literally have to kick recruiters out the door, and then having to and then in other case having to find, you know, coaches, hey, come to my school, come look at my kid. You know, my kid, you know, could beat any kid in any one of these other schools as well. I wasn't gonna ask this, Coach, but it's gonna go now to Tim. But it just popped in my head since we're talking about recruiting. Why? We've talked about how some kids are overhyped. They come in as a 4 or 5 star. They go to college and they just don't pan out. You know what? How does a star system work? Because everyone, oh, he's a 4 star, he's a 5 star, he's a 3 star, but no one really knows how. At least outside of coaching and recruiting, no one really knows how they come up with those stars. How exactly? And Joe, of course, jump in. You know, if Tim missed something, how do recruits and how do these football academics, I like to call them, or analysts, you know, come up with a star system and ranking students?
This question for me is not a good one because I don't like it at all. That system, I'm saying, I just believe that it's full of crap. I really do. You can't, you know, a kid's ability can be, you know, you can measure off ability because a lot of these kids will develop into. I have 9th graders right now. And being around a lot of athletes for years, you can tell who's going to be, but still that kid has to make it happen. So even for the next level, a lot of times we get guys that leave here and they're 5 and 4 star, but nothing ever happens. But personally, I think it goes back to the way that me and Joe take care of business, is making sure these kids are good people, making sure that they're developed into the athlete that they should be, stay humble, and just keep the course of doing the right thing. Because a lot of times they throw these stars on these kids, and then these kids think that they've already made it to the NFL. I think, you know, and you know, sometimes a kid will want to go to a particular school that may not fit him, but he's going because of the name. And then it may not work out that way.
Right.
And I think that's when a coach like me and Joe will come in and say, hey, look, I know you want to go here, but this fits you better. A good example would be, you remember DeAndre Pickett-White. I'm not going to say which coach tried to pull him over to UM when Coach Mirabal had already had it set up that he was coming in right after Cato. And one of the coaches, no, hey, UM, they like you, this, that, and the other. And he let that scholarship go. And Mirabel pulled it off the table after the fact. I ended up getting him into Alcorn State. I mean, he got himself in there. I mean, I exposed him to get into Alcorn State. And, you know, he still had a decent college career. But a lot of times, some kids, just because they're good at their high school doesn't mean that they're going to fit every college, because everybody's got their own system of doing things. And I think doing things. So a kid could be a legitimate 5-star, but if that 5-star would reach his full potential at school A opposed to school B, and they choose school B because of the name, you know. And another one that I coach and I told to stay at Killian, which is Frank Gore Jr. I told Frank Senior, I said, man, leave him right there. He's already got his offers. He's already in line. He's already set. There's no way he's gonna miss anything because you're here, you're in his life, you're making things, you know, happen for him as far as him becoming a better person. And look at what Lil Frank is doing. He didn't need to go to UM. He's his own man, and that's the way that kid has been. He was like that from jump. But it kind of confused Frank Senior that UM wouldn't even extend a hand out to say maybe we should offer this kid or take a look at him. But and I mean, he may not have fit their system. And I think that's what Frank was doing. Lil Frank looked at it like, you know, I don't want to go to UM because my dad went there, and I don't want people to think that they did my dad a favor. And maybe that's what that staff was looking at too. But you know, you got a lot of coaches got to start understanding that some kids got to go where they fit and where they're going to be successful, opposed to ending up somewhere that's not a good fit.
You get to know your players well, right? And you get to know what fits them and what does not. And so, you know, some players, you have a large roster, so some individuals, they don't have a ton of choices, right? And you kind of have to get in where you fit in. Other individuals, they have, you know, plenty of options. And for those guys, those special guys, you're talking about, you know, possibly 3 years of being a multi-millionaire, right? So a massive decision comes into not just the school, but does the school fit, you know, this young man's style of play, right? You know, if you're a running back, if you're a finesse back that, you know, has good speed and can get in the open field and make something happen, you don't want to go to a ground and pound, right? You don't want to go somewhere you're taking, you know, 30 shots a game from, you know, 6'3", 200, you know, 60-pound linebackers who run a 4.4. You want to go somewhere where they're going to spread you out, get you in space, and you know, you might take a little less hits and have a chance to kind of show off your speed. So it just, you know, in general, as a coach, a lot of times, you know, the player's strengths and weaknesses better than the player themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll tell you this, as a coach, I've never told the kid where to go, but if a player has asked me, which has happened many times before,
Agreed.
I've told them, you know, you know, I don't really like this view, and this is why. Or I do like this. I'll tell you this. I'm not going to touch too much on it because I don't really like talking about it, but just because I'm just not the type to talk about things like this. But this is a known fact. Anyone who knows me and knows this young man, there was a young man who I was real close with, who I coached, who was being recruited by a bunch of schools, and a school reached out to me, Booster reached out to me to offer me a good amount of money to get this young man to go to that school, and you know, that was the last thing I was ever going to do, you know, was put someone in, you know, put one of my kids in a position that didn't benefit them to the fullest. Like if anyone knows me well, they know that my kids come before anything else. And it's funny, he actually asked me out to school, and I thought it was such a bad fit, and I told him that, you know, I said the last thing I was doing would be to go here. And it kind of came out later that you know, the school had tried to buy me to get him, and the appreciation in him when he kind of saw that, like, it came out in a weird way, and he saw that I put him first before, you know, anything like that, and we're still real close, which is nice. He definitely made the right decision, because I'm not going to say much about it because it might give away who he is, but he's having a great career. And you know, whenever I do see him, he always kind of, you know, brings up, he never forgets kind of that decision, I guess, that was made, or that, you know, presentation that was made where, you know, I made it real obvious that my kid's always going to come before anything monetary, anything like that. Like, that's never going to come in the way. You know, and as a coach, it needs to be that, you know, we're given a amazing responsibility to be there for, you know, young men and guide them on a journey. And, and the coach who's not willing to put those young men before everything else, man, he's in the wrong position.
Well, I'm understanding exactly what he's saying, and stepping in sometimes. I totally agree with him, because you can never tell, because a lot of times the uncles, the dads, they, guide their kids. The only thing you can do is give advice. You got to step back. If you ask, you give it. If not, you just got to let them do that and just throw out your whys and why nots and go from there. And you got to be careful a lot of times, because if you can't voice your opinion, even though sometimes some kids get in crazy situations. And I mean, I would discuss Frank Gore's whole transition, because on the table for him, and this is during an era where they didn't have any stars, they just had football players. And Dade County was totally different than what it is now. To hell with the damn stars. Football players. Every school had a football player. And, thank God he went to UM. I think that if he had gone anywhere, he would have been what he is right now. Some players are just like that, like if Devin Cook would have went to UM, it would have been the same thing if he had gone to USF. Devin Cook is going to be Devin Cook. Same thing as with Frank Gore or Antonio. So it is that deciding factor sometimes, that you can only give advice. Some parents will give you a little bit more leeway. No, you let me know what I need to do. What's best for my son, so forth and so on. If you got that, then it makes it a little bit easier. But coach is always going to guide the kid in the best direction, I think. We're with them more than anybody, and coach, if anyone knows a football coach, you ask him where his money is and what the little money that we do get, where it is, it's in those kids, if it's not in his own kids. Whether it's in shoes or test or food, it doesn't matter. So and the kids are with us. They're with us all day, man. All day.
Man, that'd be the funniest question people ask is like, when you get paid, like what paid? Like, man, I've been spending money since what you talking about paid? Like,
oh man,
no money in coaching, man. You spend money to coach.
Exactly. But the promise, I mean, the things that we get back are seeing kids productive in the community, man. Police officers, doctors, lawyers, whatever, across the board. I mean, I think about Manny Euro over at Southwest. He's a doctor now out in, I think it's Nebraska right now. But it's awesome to have been a part of helping that kid reach goals like that. And the many police officers that we have within the school system or just Dade County and things like that. I mean, it's not just the NFL, it's kids that come back and say, had they not played for you, they wouldn't be where they are. That's our payback, which is, it's better than cash, believe it or not.
Yeah. And that's the attitude that the high school football coaches should have. It's putting kids first and not their legacy. It's about, in the end, the legacy should be, what came out of your students, your athletes, your student athletes, when they first got into the locker room and how they come out after. And I think that both of you are leading and wonderful examples of what true mentorship is and what football coach should be and what integrity and honor is as well. That's why I said, so I had both of you on the show, because I think that both of you are doing good things for the community, and your name should be out there, and I'm giving you guys a platform because you should be heard, across the city. Actually, we have fans in Germany, so they'll be surprised if you get some messages from some Germans, as well.
I think Coach Neal, Coach Neal could be the first one to tell you too that I think it's even more unique where we are compared to anywhere in the world, because we have this extreme where we're a hotbed for recruiting, a hotbed for athletes, and if they don't make it, it's the extreme of they might not be around too many years longer. You know what I mean? Like there's not many places in the country that have these major extremes like Miami-Dade County.
Yeah.
So I think it makes our job just that much more important, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You got to dig a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta lean on other coaches. You gotta, hey, you know this, hey, you know anybody need this, you know anybody need that. Hey, I got a kid that's coming back, but he can't come here, so we got to get him somewhere.
Right.
So it's constantly, man, between Joe and I and Alex Terry over at Miami Beach, Tim Wood and I were talking yesterday. We're just trying to help each other out because
Mm-hmm.
I had 8 seniors, 4 never played the game, and I had 4 that did, and 2 of those 4 were kickers, and then I got 1 kicker, a linebacker, and 2 linemen. And I'm trying to get those 4 main kids in. The kicker is very difficult, but he might be able to get in the St. Thomas coming up. But and one of my linemen had an offer from Fort. Well, he have one for Fort Lauderdale. But I'm trying to put better options on the table for him, and I'm calling around asking, hey, you know anybody that needs a lineman? Maybe I missed this. I was able to help out Coach Morgan over at American, one of his kids. Over at Carroll City. We got to help each other. It's without a doubt when you come together. I mean, every time Telly come down, hey, Telly, you know anybody that need this? And even if it's for one of the guys that I know at another school kid that he's just looking, you know, you never know who you'll be able to help just to get these kids in better situations.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, as promised, I wanted to, since we're also talking academics here, as promised, I want you guys to both brag about your schools. Okay. So just brag away, you know, so, in academic circles, I'll start first with Tim, then I'll go with Joe. All right. In academic circles, you know, if you're a student athlete, but mom is very worried about academics, why should they go to American Senior High School? Like, what programs does American Senior High offer that would entice a parent to send their kid?
Nursing program sticks out right away. The nursing program is one of the best in the state. We also have our gaming. It's an atmosphere and an environment that the kids feel comfortable with being there, and there's no place I'd rather be. This is something that I wish that my daughter was younger so she would have been able to go to the same high school that I went to. I mean, this place is awesome. We got a lot to offer across the board from the different programs from ROTC. It's just an abundance of choices that you have at American.
Coach Gross?
Yeah, you know, Westland, we have a number of magnets. The 2 that stick out the most, we have a health magnet that it kind of veers into 2 different directions. One is more towards nursing, one's more towards like EMT, and the 2 individuals who teach it, one is a retired nurse, the other one is a retired lieutenant from Hialeah Fire Department. We have a criminal justice magnet with a teacher who was a police officer and now again is a police officer part-time because he teaches full-time. So it's a lot of not just textbook information, but firsthand information from individuals who have lived that. And then our dual enrollment program. So actually the past 3 years, we've had the highest number of students graduate with an AA degree in high school. Actually, it's funny, it always works out. They graduate with their AA from college a week before they get a high school diploma. It's been the past 3 years we've actually led the district. So yeah, we're doing a lot of great things academically at Westland.
That's great, guys. Hey, gentlemen, this was a lot of fun. Let's not be strangers. Let's do this again. Maybe we'll have you guys on during spring ball, you know, at the high school level, so we could talk a little spring ball, you know, how things are going. Okay. All right, folks, that's it for 305 Sports Now. I'd like to thank my guests, Coach Joe Gross and Coach Tim Neal. Again, it was a wonderful interview about the ins and outs of high school football. If you like what you heard, please download on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. If you'd like to leave a financial donation, which is how this show is supported, since this is a listener-supported radio station, please go to, actually podcast, not radio station. please go to anchor.fm/305sports. Do not need to place the exclamation marks. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Stay safe and God bless. See you soon.